Welcome back to our Fundamentals of Music series. Today we are starting a new section about learning a song. As we go through this next portion of our series, we're going to be talking about the core elements of a song, strategies for learning our songs, and all the different ways that we can operate with freedom once we fundamentally understand our music. I'm very excited about this, so let's get right into it. First off, what's the point of learning all this? Well, learning a song's core elements will allow you to make confident musical decisions freely, with freedom, right? It will allow you as a guitar player or a vocalist or even an audio operator to go, hey, I want to make this musical decision. I want to try this thing. I want to turn this person up and down and have flowing musical ideas. I want to do that, and it'll let you do them confidently. You won't be making timid, kind of decisions. You're making big, bold decisions. You'll be able to bring them to our rehearsal so we can work in collaboration together. It'll be amazing. And it'll let you do them freely. You won't have to sit there and go, I want to do this. I have this idea in my head, but I have no idea how to actually bring it to fruition. I have no concept of that. I'm really limited to what I heard in that track as I was practicing, right? It'll let you make free decisions, things about rearranging your song or whatever you want to do. I want us to have that kind of freedom. I want us to have that kind of confidence as a team. Why? Why should you care about that, right? Well, understanding our music and our songs, having that confidence and that freedom, allows us to better lead others to participate rather than our songs dragging us along by the necks. And you've all experienced this. You've all been to a place where somebody was giving you a presentation and teaching you something, and all they did was read the words off the board. Point one. As you can see, point one says point one. As you can see, point two says point two. And as you can see, point three says point three. And you really kind of ask the question, does this guy know what he's talking about? Or is he just reading the correct information off a slide? We don't want to be that when we bring music to our people. We want to reach out to our people and invite them in to join and sing with us. You may remember that in the previous videos, we talked about one of our purposes for our teams is to encourage our people to sing with us. We want them to sing with us. That's our objective. We can't do that if our songs are leading us. We have to be leading our people in the songs. Okay? So that's the idea. So what actually makes a song? What are the core elements that constitute you now have this song? What is it that makes yes, I will, yes, I will? All right? So there's two real fundamental pieces. The first piece is a melodic line. A melodic line has both time and pitch. That time exists in relationship to a tempo that you can set, and that pitch exists in relationship to one pitch to the next and in the context of a key, which can also be changed. That melodic line is one of the core elements. There are some people that might argue that you only need a melodic line. You could go and you could lead a group of people to sing with you with just a melodic line and no instrumentation, and they're technically correct. But I'm going to argue that there's a second core element that really makes the music that we do today work the way that it works. That is the supporting chords. Just like the melodic line, the supporting chords have both pitch and that they have a G chord or a C chord and the multiple pitches that make up those chords. And they have a time, a rhythm, an exact moment within the context of the tempo that tells you this chord needs to be played and started in this moment. With those two things, you can absolutely lead a group of people in worship. As a single person with a guitar, you can lead people in worship by simply strumming those chords at the right time and singing the right melodic line. As a person by themselves with a keyboard, you can do the same thing by playing those chords and singing the right melody. Or even if you maybe don't play the guitar or the keyboard and you bring a guitar player or a keyboardist with you and that person plays the right chord and you sing the right melody. Those will all allow you to engage with a group of people and invite them to join you in singing, and they will be able to easily identify the song as the song. These are the core elements. This makes that song the song. All right, so you know that these are the core elements, and maybe you're listening to your music and you're trying to figure these things out. And a lot of times the melodic line is one of the easier things to figure out because you can just sing along with the guy leading the song in the listening track you're listening to. The supporting chords can be a little more challenging, especially in how they relate to, say, that melodic line. So where's the place that you can go to figure out exactly what that melodic line's rhythm and pitch are, and the place where you can find exactly what the rhythm and pitch of the supporting chords are, and that would be a lead sheet. And so here I have a clipping from a lead sheet. This is from the song Yes, I Will. And what you'll notice is you'll have notated on the staff the exact pitches in this particular key, right? This happens to be the key of C. So you have the exact pitches necessary to sing the melodic line here, along with the actual notes here. So you could see this is an A down to a G, right? I count on one thing. You can see the timing of them by looking at the stems here. We talked about counting a rhythm in our rhythm video. That's all notated here. And so that means you can go pound that out on your keyboard. You can figure out those relationships from one pitch to the next. You can learn to hear the distance in between those notes like we've talked about before. You can also see notated above the top, you can see chords. Here's an F, here's a C, G, A minor. You'll notice that those chords are notated directly above the point where they get activated, where they get started, directly above their own rhythm. You can see right here that this F starts right here on the downbeat of 1. In the middle of the word 1, you can see these two notes are tied together. So while the word 1 is going on, here is beat 1, and you can see that's where F gets played. And then you can see 1 and 2 and they did a lovely thing here where they notated above that this C happens on the and of 2. So you can see 1 and 2, and they gave us a little notation for that. So that way it's easy to see because there were rests there. So I love that. That's super handy. And then you can see that same thing over here in the G. You can see the G starts on right on the 1 in the middle of the word God. And you can see A minor starts on the and of 2 right as the word fails is articulated. So that's all here. So I can bring that and I can go over to my keyboard and I can play that. So I'm in the key of C. So here it is. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. And you can see that. It's in the middle of the word 1. I count on one thing. You can hear that happen. You can see that timing. You can find that. You can count it out just for your chords. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and on the downbeat of 1 and on the and of 2. That gives you absolutely everything you need as far as your core elements of a song are expected, right? And so it really is very simple for me to lead you in singing this song. Right here on this video, you could be singing this with me right now, just with this. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God that's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. You could have sung that with me. I didn't do any additional embellishments. I didn't do any more rhythmic, interesting things, which I would love to have on a Sunday, but they're not necessary. They're not part of the core elements. You don't need them to have the song, Yes, I Will. Now, this is super interesting. The melodic line and the supporting chords are both free to operate in any key or tempo context, okay? Our lead sheets usually don't come in every single key, but they do usually come in at least one, some often 2 or 3 keys, right? And so if I go back to my lead sheet here, what I can see is I get a really, really good depiction of tempo here, but I only get it in one key. So if I'm working on the tempo, I can actually slow this song down a lot. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and And it still works. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. It works slow. It works going faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and I count on one thing. The same God that never fails. That's maybe a little extreme. I probably wouldn't want to sing it that fast, but I can, and it works. And it's still, yes, I will. It is fundamentally and at its core the exact same song. Nothing has changed. In addition to it working at any tempo, it works in any key. The problem with that is that our lead sheets don't come key neutral, right? They come in a key. This is in the key of C. Something that's nice, though, is when we talked about chords, you can convert all your chords into numbers, and we often have number charts available. Here is that same verse of the song with a number chart. So this is a chord chart, right? This is a numbers chart. It does not include all of the same information about tempo that the lead sheet includes, okay? So when you're learning a song, unless you are naturally gifted at figuring out and identifying a tempo, I usually recommend learn the song from the lead sheet. But as you are practicing the song, and maybe you're going to practice it in a different key, the chart, especially a numbers chart, is a great tool. So now I can change this from the key of C to, say, the key of G. I'm a guitar player. I love the key of G. It's my favorite key. So let's go do that. So I was in the key of C. Here was the key of C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. All right, and that worked just fine. But I'm going to change it to the key of G. Here's the key of G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And it's going to work. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. That works just fine. And it still works fast or slow. I can go slow. In the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. Works perfectly. Different keys, different tempos, always works. That's one of the great things about learning these core elements of a song and the freedom that they give you to make those confident musical decisions we spoke about. When you really understand this and you can use it in something like a numbers chart, you have so much freedom to move songs around, put songs together, because you can change the key really quickly, you can adjust the tempo really easily, and you can just put together whatever musical ideas come your way. So let's talk about some practical exercises that you can do at home to help you as you work on learning and understanding a song's core elements, all right? The very first, the most, maybe this seems too obvious to you, practice things as simply as possible. Especially when you're learning a song, you're trying to work out those core elements, don't try to put in all of those different rhythmic articulations and fun ideas just yet. First, learn the core, right? I'm not a very good pianist, right? So I've been playing this in this simple way, and it works. But a better pianist might want to do some rhythmic ideas. Right? But even just adding this little bit of extra thing makes it just hard enough that I have to now work extra hard mentally on the song. So until that core part of the song is ingrained in me and I have that right every single time, I really shouldn't be adding embellishments yet. I really need to get that simplistic concept totally under wraps so that way I can do that. And as a vocalist, if I'm singing a song, I need to do the same thing. I need to learn that melodic line, inside, outside, frontwards, backwards, and then I can start to make decisions about ad-libbing. Then I can be really free to maybe call out some directions, right? Especially in a song like this. So it's got this little bit of an introduction to it, right? And so something that'd be great would be to talk to people, say, would you come and sing this with me? I count on one thing. I count on one thing. But if you don't understand where that starts and the context of that deeply, you're not going to have the freedom to call out those additional instructions or encouragements to the people that you're supposed to be leading. So practice things and learn things as simply as possible before you start putting embellishments on them. The next thing is work with a metronome, not only with a demonstration track. We here at Fellowship give all of our team members access to demonstration tracks, click tracks, and all kinds of different things that you can use at home to practice alongside of. You can sing with them, you can play your instrument with them, you have all kinds of options, right? And we try to give you those in every key. We have a little tool that lets us change the keys. It's a great, useful tool. But a great thing for you to do would be to go home and practice with a metronome. Now this keyboard actually has a metronome built into it. And that's great. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and. Practice with that metronome. Practice it in different tempos. Let me slow it down. Practice it even slower. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2. What that's going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to listen to your specific thing. It's going to allow you to listen to it in isolation so that you can know that you know your part. You can know that you know your part vocally. You can know that you know your part as a guitar player. You can know that you know your part even as an audio operator. You should be listening maybe to a click track with all those different things. You can understand more deeply what's going on in the breadth of what you're doing. Working with a metronome and not just as a demo track is a great, great tool for you to be practicing, to be stretching yourself, and to be bringing new interest into a song. When you don't have the context of this pre-recorded demo track, you might feel a little more freedom to try a new guitar lick that you've never thought of, or to try a new ad-lib vocally, or even to think about how you can give better instructions that better call-outs even to your people that more tie into the song because you've kind of isolated a little bit. You can bring those to your rehearsal, and then we can fit those pieces into our individual context. On any given Sunday, our teams are different, so the context changes pretty consistently, which is awesome. It gives us lots of opportunities for doing new things. The last thing you can do is you can add an instrument or you can add singing to your practicing. Maybe you need to practice with a friend. This is a great way for you to take that idea of simplicity, that idea of deeply understanding this song and specifically its core elements, and putting that into practice with both of those elements together. If you are an instrumentalist who plays a guitar or a keyboard or any sort of pitched instrument, that's a great opportunity for you to start singing. You really should be singing. Our Bible expects us to sing together. It doesn't just expect us to play instruments together. There's an expectation of lifting one another up in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. We should be singing those together. So add singing to what you do in your practice. If you're a vocalist who maybe has never played a piano or a guitar or any sort of pitched instrument, it could be a great time for you to learn. You will not become a worse singer because you learned how to play guitar. You'll be the more music you learn, the better you get at it. But those things take a lot of time to learn and to master, right? So maybe a good option is to just invite a friend. If you have a hard time singing and playing together, because it's not an easy task. It's not easy to sing and play when your articulations for playing might be different than your articulations for singing. You have to keep track of a lot more things. Bringing yourself together with a friend, that puts you practicing collaboration as well as practicing your understanding of those core elements. And especially if you're singing with a friend or playing with a friend, definitely work with a metronome at that point so that way you two are staying together. Okay? So that's the core elements. Those core elements, again, are the melodic line and the supporting chords. And if you start the learning of a song and you're learning a song and you learn those two things in your song, if you learn nothing else, if you don't understand the builds, if you don't understand the other dynamic ideas, if you don't understand the embellishments and the fancier rhythms that they add, you will be okay if you can get these things, those supporting chords, and specifically those articulations of those supporting chords and those melodic lines. That's all you need. So start from there. When we're learning a song, we start with the core elements. Our next piece is going to be talking about learning the sections of a song. So I'm really excited to get into that. So please make sure you come back for that. And I will see you next time.